Okay, so it is now officially the international break, and if you are like myself and have absolutely no life and are wondering what to do with the next 2 weeks, well, I'm going to try and help you out, because what I'm going to be doing is reflecting on the first 11 games of the Premier League season. And how I thought I would do that is by going through the full Manchester City squad for this season and giving a recap on just where I see every single player's place in this team 11 games in now. We've watched quite a lot of the season, we've seen quite a bit of the football, how Pep Guardiola is beginning to develop the team this season. And I think there's some really interesting ones in there as well. There's a lot of conversations that have been had about certain players, and I want to give my full opinions on every single Manchester City player in the squad in this video. So I think we should just crack into it and get started with the tier list. And here it is. Here is the tier list. And what I've obviously done is I've got them in separate categories from must start. So this is every single player that has to start for Manchester City in pretty much every single game this season. And then I'm going to go with the plays regularly players, so the players that are pretty much playing the most minutes in the squad. Then the good squad players, the players that can come in certain games, help supplement the squad, obviously, as well when there's injuries come into the squad and be able to do a good job. Then I've got the give him time category, and this is for players that maybe are getting a little bit of stick at the moment, but I do think will come good. And then we've got the in danger category, which I think is the category where these players are going to be in danger of being sold and moved on in the next transfer window or two. So let's get cracking into it. First of all, in goal, we have got our new goalkeeper, Bettinelli. I'm just going to put him in good squad player. He's not played a single minute since he's come to the football club. He's replaced that Scott Carson role in the team. So for me, personally, we've not really been able to see much of him. So I think it would be a little bit silly to say anything other than just good squad player with him. Nathan Ake. Now, this one's a really interesting one. I think he's just a good squad player, though. You know, he is a good player when he comes in. He always does a good job. Was absolutely fantastic in the treble winning season. Obviously had his injury issues last season as well. When he's come in, he's been solid, he's been steady, but I think there's just other players that are maybe better in the positions that he plays. Obviously, he's a centre back and a left back. We've got Nico O'Reilly, we've got Ayet Nouri in those two positions, or that position now. Vardiol can also play in there. Then in the centre back roles, you've got Vardiol and Diaz, and you've got John Stones, you've got Kusanov. So you've got so many options that I think he is just a good squad player. Although he's a reliable squad player, when you bring him into the team, you know what performance levels you're going to get from Nathan Ake, and that's what I love about him. John Stones. Unfortunately, I'm going to go good squad player with John Stones. I think he's kind of at that point now in his Manchester City career. The injuries have caught up to him. They clearly have had an impact on his physicality. Still an absolutely top draw player on the ball. When he does play, he can have some really good games. He's very useful to the Manchester City squad. I would never disrespect John Stones. But I think at this point in his career where he is with the competition in the Manchester City squad, I think he's just a good squad player at this point. As brilliant as he was in the treble winning season, as much as I love John Stones and do think he has a lot of incredible qualities that other players in that position don't have, I think for us at the moment, he is just a good squad player, if I'm being completely honest. Bernardo Silva. He is one for me that plays regularly. He is the captain of this side. I think he's been massively disrespected a lot over the last year or two. A lot of people saying that he needed to move on last summer. I disagreed with that. I think he's got a lot to offer this Manchester City side still. Playing in that midfield, I like him in the midfield more than I like him off the right-hand side. I think he shows a lot of leadership. I think he's really important in stabilizing that midfield in certain games. I thought he had a great performance on the weekend as well in that midfield alongside Nico Gonzalez. And I just think he adds a lot of running, you know, good quality possession. I think he's just a really important player for Manchester City in certain games to be able to control games. I wouldn't start him in absolutely every single game, but I think he's a player that needs to get very regular minutes this season because I think he is fantastic still. Then Ruben Diaz. For me, Ruben Diaz, in his performances this season, has moved himself into must-start. I would have had him in plays regularly based off of last season. I thought Ruben Diaz was starting to go a little bit on a downwards trend, if I was being completely honest. But the performances he's been putting in this season, I think Ruben Diaz has been absolutely exemplary at the back for us. I think he's been outstanding. You know, we're starting to see that Ruben Diaz at the back, not just the leadership, but also the performances and the quality to back it up. throwing his body on the line for every single shot. Really, really important for our back line, and there's such a leader in there as well. What a mentality that he has. So for me, Ruben Diaz is a must start. Gigi Donnarumma, that's another one. Very, very easy for me. Must start. Since he's come into the Manchester City side, we have looked so much more solid at the back. He's made some really important saves as well for Manchester City. I mean, the first game he comes in against Manchester United and makes a wonder save from that Bryan Mbeumo volley. So I think he's been outstanding for us since he's come into the net. And yeah, I think he's a must start for every single game. And then for Calvin Phillips, I think this one, unfortunately, is self-explanatory. It's probably the biggest waste of money that Manchester City have made. Probably since Pep Guardiola joined the club. I mean, maybe there's another one. I can't really think of one at the moment, but 50 million for Calvin Phillips, who's barely played for the club. I did think that potentially there was going to be something that Pep Guardiola was going to try and do with trying to play him in the right back role, obviously with that being up in the air at the beginning of the season. But that never happened, and it's very clear from the Swansea game as well, where he didn't start the game, that he's out of favour at Manchester City, and he will move on in the summer. So Calvin Phillips is not only in danger, I think it's almost inevitable that he will leave the club either in January or in the summer. Rodri, this one is not as simple as it has been previously, but he's still in the must start. A fully fit Rodri is still the best holding midfielder in the world. Nico Gonzalez is giving him a run for his money in the moment in terms of the quality of performances that he's churning out at the moment. Rodri, however, though, we're still yet to see him come back from the ACL injury to his full level. Obviously, he did come back. He's had quite a good amount of minutes since he's come back. Maybe he was rushed back a little bit too quickly. But Rodri still wasn't at the level that we know he can perform at. I mean, you can still see the quality is there, but he's been having his issues since he's come back this season. So for me, when he's fit, he absolutely must start. But it is a little bit less of a must start than maybe it would have been in previous years, because he would have been one of the first players in this top category. But for Phil Foden, for me, I think he's got to start. I think he must start. I think Phil Foden is very important for Manchester City in the way that we want to play going forward. I think we've seen it in the last few games as well. The game against Dortmund is a prime example of what Phil Foden is capable of. But even in the game against Bournemouth, you know, Phil Foden was critically important in terms of the build-up for both of those goals. Doesn't get the credit because he didn't get the goals or assists, but really, really good performances from Phil Foden. We're starting to see him mature a little bit. I like him in that 10 position as well. We can have much more of an influence, not just on the goals and assists, but in overall in the game as well. A brilliantly talented player, and for Manchester City to be at our best, Phil Foden in that 10 role absolutely has to be a thing. So yeah, he is a must start for me. Phil Foden, absolutely outrageous. Another must start is this boy right here, Erling Haaland. This one's a non-negotiable, is it? I mean, Erling Haaland is ridiculous. I've never seen anything like Haaland in terms of just goal-scoring output, in terms of just bullying centre halves. He's absolutely outrageous. There's not even much left to say about him. He just scores such a ridiculous amount of goals. It's stupid. 14 goals already in the Premier League for him. He is the definition of a must start. And if Manchester City go on to win the Premier League this season, it's going to be massively because of him. And I fancy him to break his goal scoring record that he set when he first came into the season. I think it was 36 he scored in that first season. I kind of fancy him to break it this season. I said it before the season started as well, and he started very well. So yeah, Erling Haaland, of course, is a must start for us. Omar Marmoush plays regularly. I think he's a fantastic player. He's not in form at the moment. He's not had the greatest starts to the season, with a few poor games when he first came into the side at the beginning of the season. Then obviously he went and got injured in the Egypt international break. So he's had a very staggered beginning to the season. He's just coming back to it, but the quality is undoubtedly there with Omar Marmoush. I mean, the way he strikes the ball, the overall threat that he can carry, and if Erling Haaland was to pick up an injury, Omar Marmoush is going to be critical for Manchester City in that time period. So yeah, Omar Marmoush definitely still plays regularly. I think he is a fantastic player. Wouldn't have him in the must start though, because I think there's a lot of competition in the places that he plays, but Omar Marmoush is fantastic. He should get plenty of minutes this season, and I'm sure he will under Pep as well. And yeah, what a player. I'm a big fan of Omar Marmoush. Tijjani Reinders, I'm going to put him in plays regularly. I think he's a very, very talented player. I think he's taking a little bit of time to adjust to the Premier League. I think some people maybe expected a little bit too much from him. I mean, maybe I was one of them as well. I think that the balance when Reinders plays in the double pivot is maybe not quite there with Manchester City, and that's why you saw on the weekend Pep Guardiola go with Bernardo Silva in there instead of Tijjani Reinders. And I think that that's because when Reinders plays in there with him, he likes to get forward a little bit more. It can be a little bit more open, and with Bernardo Silva, there's a little bit more control in there. So Tijjani Reinders will find his feet in this Manchester City side. He's got a lot of incredible qualities going forward, box crashing, creating chances. He's fantastically talented. So I have no doubts that Reinders will have a big impact on Manchester City this season, but I don't think he's in the must-start category. I think he's in a plays regularly category. I think he'll have a big impact on City this season, but I don't think he'll be starting every single game. Moving on to Nico Gonzalez. I love Nico Gonzalez, and I'm going to put him in plays regularly, and the reason why I've got him in plays regularly is because of the competition in and around him in this City squad. As you can see, in the plays regularly, you've already got Nico Gonzalez, Tijjani Reinders, Bernardo Silva, and then I've got Rodri in the must-start. That is the quality that he's competing with, but I think Nico Gonzalez has been absolutely fantastic. When Rodri's been injured, he comes in, the defensive output, he grows every single game. He's getting better as well in terms of dictating in the midfield as well on the ball. I think he's fantastic, and when Pep Guardiola called him a mini Rodri, it's very true, that statement, because he has been like a mini Rodri this season. The way he's performed, absolutely outstanding. And as I said, he just seems to be growing in himself every single game. And it's exciting to see. And I think we've got a hell of a player on our hands. And potentially, in the next season or two, he could be moving up into that must-start role, because I think he's been absolutely outstanding. It's not only since he's come to the club, but specifically in the last couple of months. I think Nico Gonzalez is an absolutely fantastic talent. Josko Gvardiol, for me, must start. I mean, he's just absolutely outrageously talented. Whether that's in the left-back role, whether that's in the centre-back role, I think Josko Gvardiol has it all. I mean, the quality he has in that left-back role to get up, to impact the game offensively, to make those runs into the box. I mean, last season, for a good amount of time, he was the second top goal scorer in the league. And, yeah, I mean, he is so dangerous in that final third when he plays in that left-back role. What really impressed me, though, about Gvardiol is his performances defensively in the centre-back role. We all know he's talented on the ball. We all know how good of a footballer he is. Defensively is where he has really impressed me, because I think that was the one side of his game which I was a little bit concerned about. Probably about a year ago, I looked at Gvardiol and thought, fantastic footballer overall, but defensively can get got at. I'm starting to see Gvardiol mature defensively. I think he's been huge for Manchester City towards the back end of last season, the beginning of this season, alongside Diaz. It seems like those two have struck up a really good partnership at the back, and for me, he must start every single game when he's fit, because he is such an incredible player, both defensively and offensively as well. So, yeah, Josko Gvardiol absolutely is a must-start for me. Jeremy Doku is a plays regularly. I think he's absolutely fantastic. The Liverpool game shows what he's capable of. And in the form he's in at the moment, if he can continue this on, genuinely, we're looking at a must-start player, because when Jeremy Doku is at it, there is no one that can provide what he does in world football. The talent that he has to go past players, to make things happen, to turn nothing to something is just... It's everything that you want to watch in a winger, everything that you love to watch in a footballer. And Jeremy Doku is absolutely outstanding. If he can consistently find the goals and assists and also make impact on games, Jeremy Doku can definitely find himself in a must-start role. But for now, he's in a plays regularly role. And I think that that's fair for him at this moment in time, even though he's been phenomenal so far this season. An absolutely outstanding player. So exciting to watch. And yeah, he must get a lot of minutes this season, because I think last season he was probably more in this good squad player category, but I think he's launched himself with the performances this season into a plays regular player, because he's been outstanding, and he's been probably the second best player for City this season, behind Erling Haaland. Then moving into Mateo Kovacic, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to put him in danger. I think some people will put him in the good squad player, and I can see the argument for that. He just picked up another injury. I've seen the links to AC Milan. I have a feeling that Mateo Kovacic is going to be out the door at Manchester City very soon. And it's a shame, because I thought actually he was quite overhated last season. I thought he was actually quite good for Manchester City. He was one of our better players in what was a really poor season. However, things have just not gone his way. Signings have come in. We've got unbelievable players in the position that he plays. And he's picking up injuries. There's links away. I just see it, the writing on the wall with Mateo Kovacic, if I'm being completely honest. And that's why I've got him in the in danger section, because I don't think he is going to be at the club too much longer. Moving on to James Trafford, though. I'm going to put James Trafford... I'm going to put him in the give him time category. The reason I'm going to put him in the give him time category is simply just because we signed him for big money. Obviously, he played the first few games. He made a few mistakes in those games. But I think that the potential there with James Trafford is there. The problem he's got is that Gigi Donnarumma's at the club. And Gigi Donnarumma's not an old goalkeeper. He is still 26 years of age. He's got probably about 10 years at the top level ahead of him, Gigi Donnarumma. So it's a little bit of a problem for James Trafford, if we're being completely honest, because you can only play with one goalkeeper. I think he was signed expecting to start games for Manchester City. It's not going to go his way. That's how life goes sometimes. So I do feel a little bit sorry for him in that sense, because, you know, he did have options on the table elsewhere. But I still would say give him time. You never know what could happen. Gigi Donnarumma might pick up an injury. We might need James Trafford at some point during the season. He still could be important. But yeah, I mean, unfortunate for him in terms of how everything's worked out. Gigi Donnarumma, I mean, it's just a no-brainer starting him ahead of James Trafford. It's unfortunate for Trafford, but it's the way of the road. Then for Wilson Esbrand, a player that we've not really seen too much of. To be honest, I'm just going to put him in the in-danger section. He's not broke through at Manchester City. He never really gets in the team. He never really plays. So for me, I'm going to put him in the in-danger section. I could definitely see him moving on loan or being sold at some point soon. I don't see a future for him at Manchester City personally. Hopefully he can prove me wrong. But yeah, at this moment in time, I just don't see a future for him. So I'm going to put him in the in danger category. I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong, because we want to see the academy players come into the side. You want to see them ball out. But from what we've seen so far, I'm going to have to go with the in danger for him. Nori. I think genuinely at this point, he's a good squad player. I think he's looked a little bit out of sorts for Manchester City in the first few games that he's played. Nico O'Reilly's emergence this season and towards the back end of last season as well has probably not done him any favours, because O'Reilly's been fantastic in that position. Nori, he's fantastically talented. I mean, Pep Guardiola seems to like to use him at times as well, even in the midfield, because of his talent on the ball. I can see him becoming a very useful player for Manchester City in the coming seasons. I think this season, however, he's probably more likely just to be a squad player for Manchester City. He'll definitely come in. He'll get minutes. He may even have some really good performances. But I think at the moment, that left-back role is for a completely different player other than Nori. And moving on to Mateus Nunes, I think I'm going to put him in the plays regularly section. He's been outstanding. He's been absolutely outstanding for Manchester City in the last month specifically. But the way that we've seen him grow into that right-back role since last season, he has been a real asset for Manchester City. Got the assist for the first goal against Liverpool on the weekend. Defensively so strong as well against Florian Wirtz. I think he's been outstanding defensively, which is not something I thought I would be saying a few months ago. But yeah, Mateus Nunes has shocked me. I think he's been absolutely incredible for Manchester City. And I think it'd be disrespectful to put him in a good squad player at the moment, because he's proving with his performances that he's more than just a good squad player. And if I did it probably a month ago, I would have had him in the good squad player section. So fair play to Mateus Nunes. He's absolutely shocked me with the way he's performed this season. And yeah, I mean, he's thoroughly deserving the amount of minutes he's getting at the moment. The performances have been outstanding. Ryan Shirky, this one's got to be must start for me. He's that good. I mean, I know he's not really got that many minutes at Manchester City so far. The talent is so obvious. He's just unbelievable. The eye he has for a pass. He's both-footed as well, ambidextrous. So when he sees the pass, he can play it off of either foot. The intelligence as well of that header over the top against Bournemouth for Erling Haaland. You know, it already looks like there's a genuine partnership beginning to be struck between Shirky and Haaland. And he just reminded me a little bit of Kevin De Bruyne in terms of, you know how every other Manchester City player in the squad is safe with their passes? When he sees Erling Haaland makes a run, he just plays it. He doesn't think, he just plays it. And that's what I love about Shirky. And he has the execution to pull it off as well. So for me, Ryan Shirky, when he's fit, has to start games for Manchester City. He's such a talented footballer, and he can be the difference maker in big games for us. I'm very, very sure of that. So Shirky for me is a must start. Oscar Bob is unfortunately I give him time. I was thinking about putting him in the good squad player. I think he might be a give him time. The problem with Oscar Bob is that he's massively gone off the boil since the leg break. When he was first breaking through, you could see the confidence, you could see the decision making there with him, and I was so impressed because the dribbling and the close control is outstanding. There's not many players that have this the level of close control in tight spaces that Oscar Bob has. The problem is it looks like the confidence is completely just gone from his game. He needs to get that back somehow. And in the last few performances for Manchester City, he's been really poor. A lack of decision making in the final third. And it's really disappointing because I was a big fan of Oscar Bob. I was one of the biggest hype guys talking about Oscar Bob when he was coming through in the preseason last season. And it's just not worked out for him. I think that we've got to give him a bit more time. He's still very young in his football career. He's got an abundance of talent. So there's no question on the talent there. But for me, when I look at this current squad, I look at the minutes available to certain players. I struggle to see how Oscar Bob is going to get many minutes for Manchester City. We've got to give him time. Hopefully his confidence can improve. He can get those decisions made in the final third a little bit better because he's got all the talent there. But at the moment, he's a given time for me because, it's quite a worrying start to the season for Oscar Bob, if we're being completely honest. Rico Lewis, for me, I'm going to put in good squad player. I think he's proven that he's a very good player. I just don't think he's capable of playing the big games for Manchester City. He's a very talented footballer, technically very secure in possession. In the midfield is probably his best position. The problem is he doesn't have much running power. And I think that that's probably his biggest issue overall. You know, you look at the right back position, he's not quite physically good enough to play in that role. That's why Matheus Nunes has thrived in that role over Lewis because of his physicality. And then you look in the midfield, again, the physicality lets Lewis down. The Premier League is just getting more and more physical every single season, and Lewis is just not that type of player. Very small, technically very good, but physically he can get bullied in there. And then obviously, you know, you're looking at more the advanced midfield positions, but then you've got players like Shirky, Foden, who all can play in those positions much, much better. So I think Rico Lewis is one of them where I don't think he's at risk of leaving the Manchester City side. I think he'll get a good amount of minutes this season. I just don't think he's going to get that many regular minutes in the side, if I'm completely honest. But I think he's proven that he's good enough to play for Manchester City. He's still useful in the squad. I think he's one of them that's a little bit maybe verging between give him time and good squad player, but I would lean more towards the good squad player personally. Nico O'Reilly is an academy product that has absolutely shocked me with how well he has played in that left back role. For me, he's playing regularly. He's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, against Salah on the weekend, even though Salah's been in poor form recently, locked him up. Against Saka, really impressive as well with the way that he dealt with him. He's just been so good defensively, offensively, on the ball, in possession, coming into the midfield. Nico O'Reilly really can do it all. And what impresses me and what I love about him so much is his desire to get forward and get into goal-scoring opportunities as well. Making runs at times beyond Erling Haaland, playing as a left winger. I absolutely love Nico O'Reilly's freedom. And it's crazy because to me, it always feels like he gets so far forward, but he always manages to get back in defense as well. So I think Nico O'Reilly has been one of my favorite parts about this season so far in terms of having an academy player come through and play at the level that he's been playing at. I mean, wow, he's been absolutely fantastic, and he has to play regular minutes for Manchester City this season. And it's funny because we signed Aït-Nouri to play that left-back role, and Nico O'Reilly has gone and taken it over. So fair play to Nico O'Reilly. Absolutely love to see him balling out. Savinho, for me, I'm going to put him in good squad player. I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, give him time. I know there's a lot of people that are very frustrated with Savinho. I think a lot of it is a little bit unnecessary, if I'm being completely honest. Savinho is very, very, very talented. Like, you can see it when you watch him play. And there's sometimes, I mean, the game against Borussia Dortmund was a prime example of this. Sometimes you watch him and you go, wow, that performance was of a top winger. And I do think he has the potential to become an elite winger, a potentially world-class winger. He needs to finish he needs to polish up in the final third. That's his biggest issue. When he gets into the final third, the finish is either not there or the decision making is wrong at key moments. So he's got all of the assets in terms of beating a man. He's got blistering pace. His ball control is absolutely fantastic. His dribbling abilities to beat players 1v1 is great as well. He just needs to believe himself. He needs to back himself, beat players, and get into those goal scoring opportunities and make the right decisions and finish off his chances. He will become a top winger if he does that. So for me, he's a good squad player at the moment. He's a good player to bring off the bench in certain games, to start in certain games. But yeah, I wouldn't be playing him too regularly if I'm being completely honest. But moving on to Kusanov, a player that has been very much injured recently. For me, he's a player who's regularly. I was thinking about potentially putting him in must start. I think he's somewhere between must start and plays regularly, but I think the City side have shown with Mateus Nunes that we do also have a player who can play in that right back role, who has the physicality and can defend decently and can also get forward and add that offensive threat as well. Kusanov doesn't add the offensive threat in that right back role, but what he does is he gives you a very solid defensive right back option, and he's got blistering pace. He competes, he fights for every single ball. I'm a big fan of Kusanov. I think he's got all of the attributes to go right to the top of the game. But yeah, at the moment, I think he's a player regularly, especially as he's coming back from fitness as well. He's had a few issues injury-wise this season, but yeah, I think he's been absolutely fantastic. So for me, he goes in the plays regularly section. And then Stefan Ortega, this man's still at the club. He's going in danger. And let's be real, not just in danger, he's out the club. I'm shocked he's actually still at the club, if I'm being completely honest. We've got 4 goalkeepers in here. Bettinelli, Trafford, Donnarumma, and Ortega. Ortega was supposed to go in the summer. He didn't find a club. And yeah, I mean, he's going to go in January, isn't he? So that is my Manchester City tier list. That's kind of what I think of every single Manchester City player based off of this season. It's kind of where I see their role in the team being for the rest of the season. Obviously, that can change depending on injuries, form, all of that type of stuff. But yeah, that's my current kind of thoughts on the Manchester City team. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys kind of agree with what I said? If you disagree with anything, feel free to let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, if I'm being completely honest, looking at it right now. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, international break's tough, isn't it, man? It's tough.